Hello and welcome into On the Preds with me, your host Alex Doherty of A to Z Sports, and Sean Smith of On the Forecheck. We are here a day after we normally record on a Monday because Sunday the Predators played hockey, or at least they showed up to the rink to participate in a hockey game in which there was a final score that I'm not sure they had much to say about that just happened to them. Talking, of course, about the complete blowout loss to the St. Louis Blues on Sunday. We will talk about that one as well as the other four games that happened this week. What's going on, Sean?
Oh man, Alex, what a weekend of hockey. The highs, the lows, the lows.
Yeah, I'm really glad we did not record. I mean, normally what we do is if there's a game on Sunday, we'll either wait till after the game or record the next day. I'm really glad we did not record after that game.
Oh man, there would have been just ample opportunity, I'm sure, for like just playback of me saying something like, I think they're going to give the Blues a run for their money. It's going to be a great close game, and then I would have looked like a
Yeah.
fool.
Well, or also just like after a game like that, how could you possibly have you need at least like a 24-hour period of like kind of to reflect on something so bad like that. I mean, it's just awful.
You need to go to like some kind of like memorial or something and just a quiet place of contemplation and just be alone with your thoughts and feelings for a while to really just wrap your head around it and then just to move on because there's really no other option.
Exactly. Well, being alone with their thoughts is something that the Predators are not when it comes to the standings. They are quite not alone. They are very crowded with other teams now, including the Dallas Stars, who have, for the time being, jumped them in the wild card standings. They are, after a 2-2 week for the Predators, they now sit in the second wild card spot with 91 points. Dallas has a game in hand on them. They play tomorrow night. They don't play tonight, I don't think. No, they don't play tonight. They play tomorrow night against... I actually don't know who they play. Maybe like
Stars?
Minnesota. Yeah, Stars. Who do the Stars play tomorrow?
It's a great question. I'd be happy to look it up right now.
Okay, you can look that up. But either way, the Predators are in the second wild card spot, which means that they now also really have to worry about Vegas, because if Vegas catches them and passes them, that means the Predators are out of the playoffs. This whole time it's been about kind of holding off Dallas for that top wild card spot. Now they have to worry about, could they be out of the playoffs with only 6 games remaining? So not a fun position for the Predators to be in. They desperately need to rack up more points. They also have a new look in the lineup. We're going to talk about that in particular today, involving one big trade piece from the offseason. So we'll cover that. And then, of course, we will recap all of the games. Anything else you want to touch on today?
What was I looking up? Who the Stars are playing?
Tomorrow, yeah. Stars. What's the Stars' schedule?
The Stars are playing tonight.
Oh, they play tonight. They do play tonight.
They play tonight at 9:30 Central. Which, I mean,
what do they play, like LA or something?
It's the Canucks.
Oh, they go to they're in Vancouver. Okay,
on a roll, if I recall. So
yeah, the Predators really desperately need Vancouver to do something tonight. So by the time you listen to this, maybe the Canucks will have beaten them, and that would be good. So,
that's what we want.
So one thing that the Predators cannot do is relax. However, if you need to relax your back, you need to go to Relax the Back in Green Hills here in Nashville, Tennessee. It is the only place where you're going to figure out how to work better, live better, sleep better, and feel better every day. Because as we all know, if you sleep well, you will live well. I know that after a good night of sleep, my day the next day is wonderful, which is why today hasn't been a great day for me because I didn't get a lot of sleep. I should have gone to Relax the Back to figure out, actually, it wasn't a back issue. It was the storms, dogs and all that. But they've got so many, the Relax the Back store, Sean, you've been there. It's a wonderful place. They've got a lot of great stuff for sleep comfort, for work comfort. Tell us about that zero gravity thing, that zero gravity chair. What happened with that?
Look, the thing about the zero gravity chair, I've always heard them talk about, it's a zero gravity setting. And what that actually is that when the astronauts fall asleep in zero gravity, this is the position that the body naturally goes into. And so what they're doing is they're mimicking that position because the idea is that allows the spine the best chance to decompress. And they say that when you're tossing and turning in your sleep, that your body's actually trying to put itself into that position naturally to try to get as much, I guess, the best sleep you could possibly get and the best spinal decompression that you could ask for.
There you go. So, the reason Shaun knows that is because he went to the Relax the Back store in Green Hills, 2020 Glen Echo Road. You can go there too and learn about the 4 pillars of wellness: healthy sleep, healthy work, healthy body, and healthy mind. Okay, let's talk about the Predators. We've got to go all the way back to last Tuesday. So there were 2 wins this week. Here's the first one. It was against San Jose. San Jose is not a playoff team. This was one of the few remaining teams that the Predators play that are not playoff teams. And Mark Borowiecki starts it off fresh off the Evgeny Malkin situation. Yeah. Mark Borowiecki wastes no time fighting someone. This time he fights someone named Jeffrey Veal, who I've never heard of. I don't think Borowiecki knew who this guy was. He just needed to find a face to punch. That's what he did.
Hey, sometimes faces need punching, Alex.
Borowiecki would finish with 10 minutes of time on ice and 9 penalty minutes. So he was busy on the night. Kaapo Kähkönen was really good for the Sharks as the Nashville flooded the zone with plenty of shot attempts and shots on goal. The Predators finished with 41 shots, and yet it wasn't until Ryan Johansson tried to actually make a pass in overtime that they finally scored. His centering pass to Ekholm in the slot ricochet off a Sharks defender and went into the net to give the Preds a 1-0 shutout. 1-0 shutout overtime win. UC Saros with 25 saves in his 4th shutout of the season. This was important because the Stars also beat Tampa Bay, which was a nice win for them at home. So the Preds remained up 1 point in the standings. That was a big game, that shutout win over the Sharks.
It's really counting on them losing to Tampa Bay. I thought that would have been a much better deal for everyone all around. And I don't like getting into the part of the, I don't like cheering for other teams. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, that's garbage, but I don't like cheering for other teams to lose unless they're necessarily the team that the Predators are playing against. It seems kind of weird to be like, oh, the future of this season or postseason rests on this team doing bad. And that's never good.
Yeah. Generally speaking, it's not good to be in that position. By the way, it's one thing that keeps happening here is people are like, how are the Predators, in this position where they have all these guys with all these success, having a ton of success this year. They have all these players that are, they have 2 guys that are going to push for 40 goals. Roman Josi doing what he's doing. UC Saros also having a really good year. Let's not forget that the Predators are in a very tough division and in a very tough conference. They have 91 points right now. They have 6 games left. So they can get 104 points. Most years, like 90, even 91 points is probably going to make you the playoffs. And definitely like 95. It's usually, the cutoff is usually around 91, 92, 93, right around here. And they could still get 100 points. They could still have a 95, 96, 97 point season. At this point, if they were to get 97 points and miss the playoffs, I'm just looking briefly at their history. I don't think that's ever happened. If they were to get only 6 more points out of their last 6 games, which is like basically that's not very good. 6 points in 6 games, that would be half their points they could possibly get. 97 points. I'm just going to go ahead and say that's never happened for no, that's never happened. They had 88 in the last time they missed the playoffs was 2014. They had 88 points that year. This would be 10 more points than that. Obviously, it's different scenario. Expectations are much different, but we can't forget that. Like that it's not just about something going wrong. It's that they've had a ton of competition. They are in a division with 3 teams that could all win the Stanley Cup: Minnesota, St. Louis, Colorado.
And I think what's remarkable too, it's not just that you've got to look at the way you get into the playoffs. You're either the top 3 in your specific division, or you have one of the next 2 best records overall in your conference. And so you're not looking at a situation where it's 4 teams from one division and 4 teams from the other. You're looking at 5 coming from the Central, realistically.
Mm-hmm.
That should tell you something. And of course, let's not, overlook the fact. Colorado has, I think last week I said they had like 700 points or something. It's like 800 now. It's
pushing
ridiculous.
Yeah.
First First 1,000-point team. That's probably
Yeah.
going to be right. They're
Yeah.
insane. Absolutely insane.
By the way, that's who the Predators would play if the playoffs started tonight. That would be tough. All right, so let's move to Thursday. Speaking of tough, the Edmonton Oilers come to town. So here's the thing. I wrote this prior to Sunday. This is a game we've come to expect from this team about once a week, maybe once every other week. A game where the Predators don't look like they belong on the same ice with the other team. It happened twice this week. The Oilers are a very good team. I don't know that they are really this good, but Leon Draisaitl just continues to punish them. He has 19 goals in 20 career games against Nashville. That's the most against his highest total against any team. And in the end, the Predators just didn't have it. Mike Smith shut them out. They looked like they really just couldn't skate at either end of the ice. They looked slow. They could not get it going.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing to say they look slow, but I mean, they're also playing against the Oilers. And I feel like the Oilers have been a fast team for a long time. And I'll point out too, and we'll probably talk about this again. Spoiler alert, Alex. Spoiler alert. But you got to remember that the Predators' kind of identity relies on making the team fight for every inch of ice that they can gain. And that works pretty well against most teams. But when you can't catch the team, you can't hit the team. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. At some point, you've got to find a way to impose your will. The Predators have got to find a way to impose their will against a team like this. They did it in the next game we're going to talk about, Chicago, but they did not do it in this Oilers game. I don't know if Edmonton did anything in particular that stood out to me. I remember the issue with that game really was the Predators just were not capitalizing on anything on Mike Smith. That was early on the issue. If you remember, there was a situation they were down 1-0. Maybe it was 2-0. No, it was 2-0. They were down 2-0. They got a power play. It was in the second period. They were down 2-0. They got a power play. They nearly have a goal on Mike Smith at least twice, and then give up a shorthanded goal to the Oilers to go down 3-0. And that pretty much was the end of the game. I mean, like that was pretty much all she wrote. Similar situation in St. Louis on Sunday where they were down 2-1 or 3-1, and then all of a sudden it just things got crazy. So yeah, Edmonton, not a great result. Let's move quickly to Chicago because this was the other win. Look, the Preds needed badly to get back on track against Chicago. They started off really nice with Philip Tomasino sending a very nice pass to Eeli Tolvanen to make it 1-0. Really good glimpse at 2021 Eeli Tolvanen, not so much 2022 Eeli Tolvanen, but the good version that we got used to seeing last year. And there's a new look fourth line. We're going to talk about more on that later. New look fourth line. Maybe you can't even really call it a fourth line, but however, just after that, Patrick Kane tied it up a few minutes later, and then he stared down a fan like a weirdo.
It was really weird.
Although I do have one thing to say. So there were reports after the game. So John Glennon, who covers the NHL, I mean, he writes for NHL.com now, I think is basically mainly what he does. He did the game report for that game. And so he went to the Edmonton locker room Chicago locker room to ask Patrick Kane what was the reason behind that. And his report, and this is just me hearing John Glennon talking about it after the game, is that he asked him, and John said that Patrick Kane said, he paused for a second and then said, there was no reason, which John and a bunch of other people interpreted as there was a reason, but Patrick Kane did not want to go into it. So there was something between him and that fan, but we don't know what it was. He just didn't want to.
I like watching the replay, and you can see the guy just kind of look at him like.
I assume it's nothing more than just it was maybe he saw him in pregame. Maybe the guy said something to him in pregame or shouted at him during pregame, and he just, since he scored the goal, he just went and stared him down. I'm assuming it's something like that. That seems like something Patrick Kane would do.
That seems very Patrick Kane.
Yeah. So, anyways, that ties it up. Then Chicago goes up 2-1, backdoor play to Dominic Kubalik. And it was butt clinching time in Bridgestone Arena because they were down 2-1 after having lost to Edmonton 4-0 and needing points against a bad Chicago team. But then Roman Josi gets a backdoor play of his own, ties the game. He scored just after that too, but that didn't count because Matt Duchene was offside. And then Matt Duchene scored on a very wild play in front of the Chicago net. Just kind of craziness happened. Then Mikhail Granlund tips home a shot. 4-3 was the final. It was, a 2-goal game late, so it was just kind of it was by the time that the Predators tied it up, you felt like they probably were going to win the game, and that's what happened. So the Predators finished the season 3-0-1 against Chicago. Good result against a bad team. I mean, 7 of 8 points. You can't. That's pretty good.
Take it.
Yeah, you'll definitely take that.
A lot of butt talk in this one, Alex. Butt clenching, backdoor play. Come on.
Yeah, I didn't really intend that, but I guess it was. That's just how it works out. Sometimes there's butt talk on this show.
Sometimes there's a little bit of butt talk.
I mean, you just got to be prepared for it. All right. Speaking of butt, the Predators were very much butt on Sunday against the St. Louis Blues.
Man.
Let's talk about it. So the Predators' worst loss in terms of goals on the board, and especially in the second period. But to me, the bigger story here is in starting UC Saros on the second half of a back-to-back. He gets pulled. David Riddick doesn't seem ready to play. He's not great in relief either. You could obviously make the argument that the Predators did not play well in front of them. I would definitely hear that argument. I believe that. But at least 2 or 3 of those goals were on the goalies. I know of at least 2 on Saros and definitely at least 1 on Riddick. I actually didn't watch most of the second period. I had other stuff to do, but I watched the highlights and I was like, man, this is bad. So, and the Predators scored some goals, but they really had no chance in this game after the second period where they allowed 7 goals, which is the record of the number of goals. Sorry, that's the record for the most goals the Predators have allowed in a period ever happened. So, real bad result on Sunday.
Let me bring this up here. I looked ahead at the notes and it's not on the agenda to discuss. But this seems like the place. Okay. So there's been a lot of talk, Alex. You've probably heard. I think maybe you yourself may have participated in this talk and saying that playing a goalie back to back is not standard practice and usually not advisable, right?
Oh, I think it is standard practice. I think it's not advisable. Maybe not standard practice. It doesn't happen as much as it used to. I'll say that.
Well, I guess here's the thing. Why not? And I just talk to me about this. Why not start Riddick against Chicago?
Yeah, I think that was what most people thought, and I think that would have been a fine move. Start Riddick against Chicago, knowing that you got St. Louis on Sunday. But especially after already locking down the 2 points against Chicago with Saros, why not start Riddick on Sunday too?
You've got your 2 points. I mean, I guess for me, if you don't trust your backup goaltender, okay, if you don't trust your backup goaltender, then you should at least trust the guys to defend in front of him, right? And if you don't trust your backup goaltender and you don't trust your guys to defend in front of them, what is that? I mean, is that a team that's going to the playoffs and making a lot of noise?
I mean, look, there's 6 games left in the season. At this rate, I doubt we see David Riddick again. And and having said that, it might be that we never see David Riddick play for the Predators ever again because if they make the playoffs, we're certainly not going to see him in the playoffs. Unless Saros is pulled or something. I mean, I don't really understand unless when they make the David Riddick signing and think that he's going to be at some level, and then early on they realize that he's not, and so now they're just like, okay, we're just going to ride Saros, and then we're not going to re-sign Riddick, and then next year we're going to call up Connor Ingram, and he'll be the backup. Okay, so if you're going to do that, why not just go get Connor Ingram back up here? I mean, like you need the guy. If you don't trust Riddick that much, surely you trust someone. And I don't know. I mean, Connor Ingham had a win in Minnesota. That was earlier on in the year. That was a pretty hostile environment, big, tough 2 points they needed, and they got it. Don't know why he couldn't have done that against St. Louis. So
no roster limit.
No roster limit.
They've got the cap space.
There may be a limit on goalies.
Oh, I thought you could do it. I thought you could do whatever you want.
No, maybe not. Maybe it's just not.
I thought there were no rules.
Yeah, I guess there's no rules. I thought maybe there was a limit on goalies, but maybe there's not.
I'm not a rules expert.
No, because like a bunch of teams have like 4 goalies.
Well, yeah, I think it just doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. It seems like, and you've got, like you said, 6 games left. 4 of those games are back-to-back games.
Yeah, they have more back-to-backs coming. Yeah, I guess so. I guess we will see him at some point.
Or will we? I mean, I don't know. That's, like you said, we may not see him play for the rest of the season. But
the explanation that John Hines gave really was just not good. I mean, I don't know who asked him. I know that Kayla Anderson retweeted tweeted a video of it out. I'll have to go watch it again. Asking him about the decision to start Saros, and it was just like, we talked about it, we thought about it, we went over the numbers and decided to go ahead and start him. There was no real explanation. It was just like, we did it. Lineup decision.
I guess the only thing I can really think, and this is just me thinking out loud here. Maybe you pull Saros, you think, okay, hey, he'll go in, he'll be fine. Oh no, he's not. We'll put in Riddick. He should be able to, to stop the bleeding at least. But, he'd been sitting there. He'd been sitting there the whole first period. He sat there for a lot of this, or some of the second. I don't remember exactly what time it was, but he's sitting there cold. It's not like you don't go to the bullpen like you do in baseball and get warmed up, right? You're just sitting there.
I'm sorry. It's called the arm barn now. It's not the bullpen. It's the arm barn.
I gotta go.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So yeah, they don't have an arm barn.
There you go.
For goalies. So it's not like he really had a chance to get warm. So you put him in there and it's like, okay, they light him up. But realistically speaking, maybe that's just by the time that they lit him up, then that's when he was warm. I don't think they go through the same paces pregame to warm up, like, at least the time in the net, it seems like during warm-ups. And if you're going through that, I mean, I'm not saying like this is some big excuse. Like, clearly for the backup goalie, you have to have that mentality going into the day that you could be called into service at any time. Yeah. I'm not making an excuse and saying like, well, he wasn't ready. But the reality could just be that, it wasn't like they made the change in the middle of the intermission. It was literally like second period, boom, boom, boom. Hey, we're pulling you out. We're putting Riddick in. And then he has to go straight out there and face a team that's already, according to NBA Jam rules, they're not just heating up, they're on fire.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they were definitely, they met the NBA Jam fire criteria. Yeah. David Riddick has just not been really good. I mean, he had a decent career when he was in Calgary, where he got the reputation, the big save Dave and all that stuff. He had a good year. His best year, a 911 save percentage, 911 save percentage. That he had 27 wins. That's a good season. I mean, that's really not bad. Went down after that, and then ever since it has never even come close. This year, he has an 883 save percentage. That is well below replacement value. Replacement level. And I mean, it's not been good. UC Saros rested is obviously a better option. UC Saros 0 days rest it's like a toss-up. And I think the risk of putting Saros out there really wasn't worth it. And it didn't work. So bad decision. Yeah. Bad decision. So we've talked about that. I guess that's pretty much, we could just end there and move on, because it was a bad week too, but they did get a couple wins. They got a couple things to fall their way, and they're still technically in a playoff spot. I think their playoff chances now are like 85%, which is still not bad, but it's not, it's gone down. It was like 92. So now it's like 85, not going the right direction.
When I was younger, an 85 was a B, and I wasn't allowed back in the house until it was an A.
92 was a B for me. 90, you had to get a 93 to get an A.
Okay, look, we didn't all go like to fancy schools. Okay,
Is that
some
not
of
what
us
it was
just
for you?
no. We're a tiny little school in the middle of nowhere. Just one high school in the whole county. Look, we're just happy we had a school building to go to. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Um, I didn't realize that no one that the grade structure was so different elsewhere.
Well, Alex, it actually just varies from district to district, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'd always gone when I was in California and I was in Kentucky, it was always the same. Even in college, it was a 10-point
Oh yeah,
scale. So
that's true.
you know, I don't know. It's a new thing. The school I teach at is, like you said, a 93 is a B. So
There
whatever.
you go. Hey, Shaun, what did you have for dinner tonight?
Oh man, we got a little busy with some things. We had to hit the drive through. Got some Burger King. It was cold by
Okay.
the time I ate it.
So instead of Burger King, what you could have done is gotten some pre-proportioned fresh ingredients delivered to your house, all in a convenient box from HelloFresh, which is known
Oh,
as America's #1 meal kit. You would have been more satisfied with your meal. You would have saved a little bit of money, and you would have been able to cook your own meal in your house, which is always a better option for everyone. It's all about convenience. I understand fast food, I get that, but the next time you are looking for some food options, all the ingredients come pre-proportioned. You're not overbuying, wasting food. It's easier than ever to get filling meals on the table. The HelloFresh chefs really know how to diversify the menu. You can pick from 50 different weekly options. You can skip weeks if you need to. There's an app. You can update all that stuff in your app. We did it tonight. We had penne pasta with Italian sausage meatballs, little Parmesan cheese on there. We made a little side salad. That was an extra thing that we did. And then, it's delicious stuff. Hey, you know what else? They give you free stuff too. I got a
what?
free New York style cheesecake, a little mini cheesecake in my box this week. Haven't eaten it yet. Still in my fridge. Going to save that for a special treat for myself or for my daughter or for my wife, whoever happens to eat it. But what you need to do is go to HelloFresh.com/Pred16. Use the code Pred16 for up to 16 free meals. They'll give you free gifts like the cheesecake. We got some soda in our box the other day, some candy bars. It's all kinds of cool stuff. So HelloFresh.com/Pred16. Use the code Pred16 to get 16 free meals. Do it. It's good. It's good stuff.
Tell you, I got a free onion ring in the bottom of the bag.
Well, hey, we got to be happy with what we have in life, right?
It's the little victories.
All right, so the playoffs for the Predators are looking a little tougher. This was not a good week, mostly because the competition was tough, but it doesn't really get any easier this week. We'll talk about the upcoming schedule, but Calgary, Tampa, Minnesota, that's 3 really good teams. I mean, that's like I could see all 3 of those teams, well, not all 3 of them, but any one of those 3 teams winning the Stanley Cup.
You can see them all collectively sharing it, just
I mean, maybe
miraculously.
if you put all those 3 teams together, it'd be like the greatest team of all time. I mean, they're all really good, and I don't like where the Predators are at right now. This was such a bad week that I really am starting to have doubts. I've never really been feeling this way until this week, until Sunday, until I saw the 2 blowout losses against Edmonton and St. Louis, both at home. I wasn't really doubting it, and now I'm kind of inching that direction. If I was 80% thinking the Predators would make the playoffs, I'm down to like 60, maybe 55. I still think they'll get there, but I'm losing a little bit of faith here.
Well, do you want a little bit of good news, Alex?
What's that?
Right now, the Vegas Golden Knights, breathing down the Predators' necks, are playing the New Jersey Devils, and guess who's winning?
The Devils?
The Devils are winning.
I mean, that is good news. Who scored? Nathan Bastian. Let me know who that is. That's good news. But like, I still think that if you're counting on the Predators to have other teams lose, man, that's just not going to go well for you because Vegas still has a really good team. They got a lot of really good players. They're built well. I would not want to be in a situation where the Predators are having to watch and see if the Vegas Golden Knights can lose in order to be in the playoffs. Only then to play the Colorado Avalanche, by the way.
You know what that means?
What's
Butt
that?
clenching time.
Yeah. That would definitely mean that. I mean, the Predators have been in this position before. I mean, I know people are going to get mad if I make this comparison, but 2017, that playoff, they were in the position where they were fighting for the playoffs at the very, very end. And they were in like they were in the top wild card spot, and then they lost to Winnipeg. I remember this very vividly. They lost to Winnipeg on a really just kind of crazy situation. And then another team won. And so then they got bumped to the very last spot and had to play Chicago. It just feels like a very similar situation. And there is no guarantee that they could do the same thing they did that year in the playoffs. So you don't want to be in that position. It just is not preferred. I mean, it was not a good look then, and it would not be good this year. But I did want to bring this up. Are you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I was making a note that you said that this team is like the 2017 Preds, just for posterity's sake. So
I really wasn't saying that. I was saying that situation was, but let's talk about Cody Glass for a second, because he made his return to the Predators this week. Played in 3 games, two games. 3 games? I'm trying to remember. Did he play in the Edmonton game? I cannot remember.
I don't.
Let's say it was 2 games, maybe 3 games.
I will check right now.
Yeah, check and see if he played in the Edmonton game. That was a bad game, anyways. But I don't think he did. But anyways, so what's happened is Cody Glass has come up. Now Michael McCarron's been injured, so he's kind of had this. They've kind of been. He did play Thursday. Okay, so he's played in 3 games. All right, so Cody Glass has now been playing on a line with Philip Tomasino and Ellie Tolvanen. Of course, Glass coming over in the Ryan Ellis trade, where the Predators acquired him from Vegas after sending Nolan Patrick, all that stuff. And at least against Chicago, I remember them looking very good. Now, St. Louis and Edmonton were a different story, but I do have some stats here to talk about. But I wanted to get your take on that line, and then I'm gonna play audio from John Hines on that too, because I think the Glass, obviously Tolvanen and Tomasino have been here all year. The Glass impact is an interesting one, because I think he looks like a different player, and he looks faster, he looks stronger, he looks more confident, and you'll hear all those things from John Hines too. But what do you think so far about that new element in the lineup?
I like it a lot, and I think the reason that I'm enjoying this so much is that we've heard a lot about the youth movement, Alex.
Yeah,
heard that a few times. But this to me seems like a real youth line, because you do have 3 young guys. And I don't want to try to say, they all played together in Milwaukee, because they really didn't. I don't know if they played together there at all, actually.
No, Tolvanen would have been gone by the time. Yeah, no, they didn't play together.
I mean, they haven't played together, but they all have spent time with Carl Taylor, and I think Carl Taylor
just got here this year, so.
Yeah, I think Carl Taylor is an outstanding developmental coach. I think he's a great coach, and I think you see a lot of those guys that play for him kind of come in. I don't want to say with a different attitude, but it's a fresh attitude, I think. And they come into the NHL at that level kind of ready to continue growing. They don't think, I've arrived. They think, okay, I'm here. How do I stay here? How do I get better? What can I do to improve? Who do I need to start talking to? Who should I mimic? And I think with those 3 together, you kind of see that all on one line. And to me, he's kind of breathing new life into these 2 players that have kind of been thrown around the lineup all season. To me, they've just been playing in odd places. Somebody will get moved up. We're moving this person up to play on the first line, or we're going to move this guy to the second line to play with this center. But here you kind of see these guys intentionally put together, and it's a totally different look for what you would call the fourth line on this team, where you've seen a much a fourth line with a lot more size, a much more physical fourth line than this particular iteration of it. And I think you're seeing some scoring upside. I think you see Glass specifically getting into a lot of really good positions and places on the ice and in front of the net. And he's not shying away from the physical element, the puck battles and things like that, which is, I think,
Right.
where he may have lacked at the beginning of the season. So seeing that come together, Tolvanen, we know, has really expanded his physical game as well. And you kind of see something that's, I think, like we used to say last season about Matt Duchene, he's doing all the right things. It's just not paying off. I think you're going to see that this line's doing the right things, and it's going to start paying off quickly.
We will talk about what that means if that happens, what that could possibly mean. Let me play this clip from John Hynes because this was after the Chicago game. I asked John about what he noticed different in Cody Glass specifically. Then we'll talk about the line overall. I hope this audio is okay. I'm not positive you're gonna be able to hear everything, but we'll try to recap it if we can't hear it. But here you go. Here's John Hynes after the game against Chicago Saturday.
Seem to be producing a lot of chances. What's been the biggest difference you've seen in him the last couple games since the beginning of the year?
Well, I think his pace of play is higher, meaning he's playing the game faster. Like he's skating, he's making his skating's a factor in the game. I think he's making quick decisions with the puck, when to advance it and when to move it. And then the other thing, I think his battle level has been pretty strong. Where he gets in some of the confrontations for the puck, he's winning more of those battles than he's losing, and that was some of the things that we saw early in the year with him. It was the speed, the pace, the strength, and I think the confidence level that he had. He hadn't played a lot. He was coming off an injury. He didn't play a lot the 2 years prior to that. So, it's really the development process of a young guy that we believe in Cody. We think he's going to be a really good player, but he's a young guy. He's a 22-year-old kid that hadn't played a lot of hockey in the last couple of years, and to be able to go down and get 60 games under his belt and refine his game and play big minutes in important situations and gain his confidence, that's a lot of times what happens with young guys. So he's had a couple good games, and hopefully he continues to play the way he's playing.
So one correction to John Hynes there. Cody Glass is now 23 years old.
Well, do we need to sing happy birthday? Was it that recent?
It was April 1st, April Fool's.
Well,
Cody Glass is an April Fool's baby.
Wow.
So he is now 23, which makes him this is crazy to think about. He's now older than his two line mates. Tomasino's 20 and Tolvanen's 22.
So Tolvanen's still 22?
Yeah, Tolvanen, I think he's got to turn 23 this year, I think, right?
Yeah, too. I'll look it up.
Oh, Ellie Tolvanen turns 23 in 4 days.
Oh, wait, when's Tomasino's birthday?
I don't know, but he's 20. He's a young guy.
I know, but what if they were all born in April?
April line.
What a fun.
Find out. Let's find out. Philip Tomasino birthday.
Oh, it's July. 28th.
He's July with me. Yeah. He knows what's up.
Before my dad's birthday.
So he's 20, age 20. So he's going to be well behind them. But it is kind of crazy to think about how that line, if that line were to come together, two 23-year-olds and a 20-year-old, you could have that line together for a while. But let me go back to what John Hynes said. The things that he said he liked in Cody Glass are similar to what you mentioned. His pace of play, his battle level, I think that's what he said. His battle level, his pace of play, and his confidence. He also mentioned how, coming into this season, he hadn't played a lot of games because he was injured. So he got like 60 games in Milwaukee, a point per game player down there, which is, playing in the minutes that he was getting was really good. And he all reports from Milwaukee said that Cody Glass was really making a lot of improvement. So really good to see. Now let's talk about this line, because what I saw in Chicago or against Chicago was a lot of zone time. I saw a lot of really good cycle work on the outside, like very similar to like what you'd want out of a top six line. Just creative passing, vision, battling on the boards for keeping the possession, not necessarily rushing things when it wasn't there, but taking advantage of pockets of space when they were there, working well with the defensemen on the blue line, understanding when to cycle back and when to pinch if you have to cycle back. So really a lot of advanced stuff for that line, and you know the numbers showed it. So in 4 games together, those 3 have played 17 minutes at even strength, which is not very many. So we're going to have to see more. But the advanced stat numbers, all the shot attempt numbers, the expected goals, the high danger chances, all that stuff, very, very good for that line. And individually, when you break those line mates up individually, how do they look just without the other 2 line mates? Not as good individually. So it is about the collective group. It's not necessarily one guy that's pulling everybody up, if that makes any sense. When you separate them out, they're individually okay, not bad, but they're just okay. But then together, they make a really good unit so far in 17 minutes. We need to see more.
Well, yeah, and I think you think about that. This might sound bad when I say it, Alex, and I don't mean it to sound bad, but all 3 of these guys have developed or spent time developing under Carl Taylor, and so you're going to have. And I know that they run the same system in both cities, in the AHL with the Admirals, and of course in the NHL with the Predators. But you've got to understand, at least the way I'm seeing things, is that they're all coming in with that same mentality and that same, like, remember, coaching at the NHL level is, you are here. There is not a higher level. We need you to do this. Whereas in Milwaukee, it is instructional. Hey, this is how you're going to improve doing this.
Yeah.
Those things, having 3 guys that have all kind of developed under the same coach that way, I think kind of speaks to that. And I'll say too, I think I also liked what I saw from Glass in front of the net, in the crease, in front of the goalie. And I'm going to tell you, if he could, like start hanging out with Mikhail Granlund and like learn some of that net front stuff that he's gotten so good at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like
Johansson too.
Oh, definitely Johansson. I mean,
Yeah.
but those 2 guys together, like, pick up some pointers from them, pay attention to what they're doing, like learn what they're doing and start doing that. He's going to be nasty.
Yeah. He's got a lot of room to grow. I mean, like there's still more things he can pick up. But here's the thing. Right now, where the team is at, they're fighting for a playoff spot. They've already got their top line. I think that their top line going into the playoffs will be the Forsberg, Johansson, Duchesne line. I know things have been jostled around quite a bit. I think game 1 of the playoffs, if they get there, that line will be together. Forsberg, Johansson, Duchesne. Same thing with the Jeannot, Sissons, Trennan line. I think for sure that's a line. Again, there's been some shuffling around. Like Jeannot was with Johansson a couple games there. The shuffling's going to stop. We're going to see those lines back together. Then it gets interesting. Do they have the Tolvanen, Glass, Tomasino line, which has looked pretty good? And then what do you do with the leftovers? Granlund. Is he on a line with Luke Cunnin and Nick Cousins? Is Matt Luff in there? Is Michael McCarron back? I mean, certainly Granlund's going to play. I mean, Granlund's a top player on the team. He's going to play somewhere. And you can try, we have to try not to think too much about like line numbers. Like Granlund really wouldn't be the 4th line. It'd be like the 2nd or 3rd line. And this 4th line with Glass and Tomasino would be kind of the 4th line, but they're not a traditional 4th line.
Right.
So,
I mean, you could, if you wanted, I suppose you could play Granlund on the wing.
On where?
I don't know.
Oh, anywhere. Yeah.
Somewhere, but that would also have him, he'd be able to play on the power play. The
power play probably is unchanged. I mean, I would imagine the power play, the power play 1 is going to stay the same. The power play 2 has gone through all kinds of changes. I guess Tolvanen's on that now for sure. It's like Tolvanen, Ekholm. Yossi's been playing both now. It's been like Yossi, Ekholm, Tolvanen. I don't know. Cousins has been on there. Maybe Cunnin. I don't.
Has Carrier been playing?
I don't think he's been on the power play at all.
He's been on the penalty kill. He's on a special team.
Special teams will have to spend a whole show on that. We haven't done that in a while. We'll probably have to do that.
You're right. We do need to do that.
But I really like the idea of that line being sort of forged by fire, thrown into it if they get to the playoffs, and just like, all right, you guys are a couple 23-year-olds and a 20-year-old. Go figure out how to play in the NHL playoffs because it's tough. That could be fun to watch. I don't think Glass is playing the playoffs. I want to say he didn't play for Vegas in the playoffs. I know Tolvanen has. Tomasino has not. So that's going to be interesting.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be a tough week. Let's get into it. Or go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, no, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm just looking up some Cody Glass stuff right now.
Tuesday versus Calgary. Calgary Flames come in. They're the second best team in the Western Conference, top of the Pacific. They're going to win that division easily. And they're coming in, really, really good. Then the Predators don't play for 3 days. Then they play Saturday at Tampa, and then they have a back-to-back Sunday. They come home to play Minnesota. So Calgary, Tampa, Minnesota. Between those teams, you've got, world-class players. You've got really strong teams top to bottom, great goaltending, great defense. It's going to be such a tough week for the Predators to come away with points. And they need all the points. They need to get 6 points against 3 of the best teams in the NHL.
Yeah. They're going to do it too. I think what you've got to remember, and I've said this a lot on a lot of different forums throughout the season, the Predators typically have shown up against strong competition. I think you take that, what I would call, and what Roman Josi called, an embarrassing loss to St. Louis, and coming on the heels of that, you're going to be thrown out of the frying pan into the fire. There's going to be a lot of motivation for these guys. And I don't mean oh, well, we better go show them. They're going to be like, no, we're doing this. I say you see them come out. I don't want to say swinging because that would imply they're going to be fighting, but I say look for a very physically aggressive game. Look for them to set the tone early in all of these games and try to make the point. Like, if you're going to beat us, you're going to have to beat us. Get it? Beat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. They might have to return to that sort of physical. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a fight early on against Calgary, even though there's no history between the teams. It's just there's going to be. I think that either Boro, if he's out there, or Jeannot does something, or Cunnin, or someone's going to go out and Cousins maybe. It's going to be someone that's going to go out there and try to set the tone early because they've got to get that back in the building. I don't think that happened against St. Louis.
No. Nothing. And you know what? I don't know that everyone is aware of this because it's not something on the forefront of everyone's mind. But you've got to remember that Calle Yarncroke is a Calgary Flame now.
He is?
Yeah. Think about that.
Yeah, that's fine. I've never really felt too highly about Calle Yarncroke. I think he's fine. He's a fine player. He was very cheap for a number of years. Yeah, go ahead and put me on the list. That's fine. He was very cheap for a number of years. That was his best quality, is that he was a $2 million player and they could plug him in every year. If that's your best quality, that you're cheap, I'm sorry, I just don't get all that excited. He would show flashes of occasionally being a pretty good shooter. He could sling it in the net, and he played pretty good defense. It's just he didn't do anything excellently. I don't think I never watched Calle Yarncroke and thought, wow, if he grew the rest of his game, he'd be an incredible player. It's just overall, he was just fine. He was okay. He was decent player.
How's it feel to be a hater?
I don't think I'm a hater. I think I'm realistic.
I know. I was being facetious. I just, there's always that element when you take someone like Calle Yarncroke, who was with the Predators for a long time, spent a lot of time in practice and training with guys like UC Saros in the net. So you always have to wonder, are they going to come in knowing something and being able to take advantage of it? I don't know. I just, maybe that's just naivety on my part, but you always wonder, is this guy going to come in and blow him up? Do they know all the secrets, man? Is that what's going on? Is there a conspiracy theory here?
I think for Calgary, the Calgary game, I would be more worried about, they have 4 guys that have scored 30 goals. and none of them are Calle Yarncroke.
It's true.
And they have two guys that are pushing for 40. So, like, they've got some incredible talent. I mean, I don't know. I think that's going to be a tough game. And then, of course, Tampa. I mean, they've won 2 cups in a row. And Minnesota, the Predators have played well against Minnesota this year, but you feel like maybe there's going to be – maybe they're due for a loss against the Wild. So, it's – man, this could really be – this week could really be a killer. If they come out with 0 points this week, that's it. Like, they're not going to the playoffs.
Yeah, you're probably right. And just a quick update. 2 things that I wanted to update you on. First, Cody Glass does have 1 game of playoff experience.
He does. Okay.
He does. And here's a little bit of news. At the end of the first, New Jersey is still leading the Golden Knights by 1. However, Dallas and Vancouver are tied at 1 with about 11 and a half minutes left in the first.
Okay.
What's going to happen? I don't know.
There you go. By the time you've listened to this, maybe it'll already be over.
I'm sure it
Which,
will.
if you've been listening to this, thank you for listening. You can check out all of our hockey coverage at azsports.com. Go to ontheforecheck.com as well. You can check out Shaun. I know that he posted a interview that he did with Terry Crisp, right?
Well, I interviewed Pete Weber.
You interviewed Pete Weber about Terry.
Terry Crisp on the occasion of his retirement. So it was a really nice. Anytime you get to talk to Pete Weber, I mean, I don't know. Like it never seems like long enough. I could listen to him talk all day, and I don't think I would ever get bored, and I don't think I would ever get tired or have anything to add or say. It's just 100% pure entertainment all the time. And especially hearing him talk about someone as close to him as Terry Crisp is, it's really moving to hear, I think, someone who's, you think, Alex, you and I, we've worked together on this podcast for less than a season. These guys have been working together for over 20 years. I mean, I'm already naming people in my family after you. So imagine what it's going to be like. Just kidding. Oh, that's not real.
So,
but
yeah, I think that was a cool moment, and I'm glad that you got to do that interview. So got to check out that on theforecheck.com. Go there. Follow me on Twitter at AlexDarty1. Follow Shaun on Twitter at SCSOTF, and we will see everyone next week. Hopefully, we'll have some better news on the playoff front because this week wasn't great. Maybe next week it'll be better. See you, everybody.